Well, it's been a while, but I'm back with another critical take, and today I'm going to talk about some channels that I've come across on YouTube where the hosts take issue with larger retro gaming channels receiving donations or having Patreons, calling this behavior to be e-begging. And I'll be honest, while there's a hint of jealousy and mean-spirited intent behind some of their videos, I'm not going to say that they don't have the right to come on and generate a counter-narrative to YouTuber influencer culture. And some of their insights are spot on. But when it comes to this topic of e-begging, I think these people have it wrong. Now, I've spoken about the evolution of YouTube as a platform and the economics behind it, but I've never really addressed the issue of donations in a substantive way, so I figured this would be an opportunity to do that. While I personally don't like what YouTube has become, and I don't enjoy watching people solicit donations, I will defend their right to do so. I believe these people have the right to engage in this donation-based culture, and I'm not going to give it the pejorative of e-begging. It's not to say that I enjoy it, it's not to say that I would do it myself, but I think they have a right to do it. So let me explain why. Whether we like this behavior or not, I do think having Patreons and memberships and other forms of donations is simply a rational choice given the platform that these people are operating on. And some of these big YouTubers, you can see in the thumbnail, they do this for a living. So they have to maximize the profit that they can get from the platform. People are willing to send you money via all of these methods. For them, in their position, it would be a lost opportunity if they didn't engage in these kinds of transactions. I mean, money and time are, of course, scarce resources, and if you can earn a couple extra $1,000s or whatever these people make, why not do it? Why leave money on the table? What is the argument against taking donations, or what is the argument for leaving that money on the table? And this is where I think the anti-e-beggars get it wrong. Because what they're doing is they're assuming that their own subjective moral judgments on work, which frequently equate to something like a real man goes out and earns his pay, should hold for all people on YouTube. But as we know, the economics of online influencing say otherwise. Big YouTubers have cultivated a base of fans. I've called this commodified attention in other videos, and they're monetizing that attention in every way possible. If there are a certain percentage of people out there who want to buy their merchandise and join up to these various kind of schemes, then they would be silly to renege on that income, and no subjective moral argument can constrain them in doing that. There's tons of economics and business literature that talk about how monetizing community interaction is really what you need to do in a lot of these online models that these people are working in. It's kind of the nature of their industry, and one could say that they're following best practices. Now, I don't like it, and I wouldn't do it myself, but I don't believe that one's own opinion on work should be an imperative that everyone else has to follow. But where I do agree with the anti-e-beggars is their criticism of the angles that larger YouTube influencers use to generate these donations. Sympathy, guilting people into paying, phony appeals to friendship or community, personal crises, all these different things. I don't think the argument, though, is that e-begging is bad. I think the argument is that this kind of aggressive solicitation degrades the quality of their work. These channels used to be a lot better than they are now, and whether they feel forced to do this, whether they have some kind of financial pressure to soak up every dollar that's out there, or whether they're just going with the flow on the platform, the heavy monetization of YouTube channels is a negative that makes them, kind of standardized, and that just makes the content boring. I would personally have more respect for these individuals if they just had a 5-second pop-up every other video reminding people that, they have these donation schemes, maybe some links in the description, a link on the banner, something like that, rather than making long-winded videos that turn into happy accidents when they go wrong or piss off some aspect or some group in their community. I think often what we have when the solicitation is happening is thinly veiled greed masquerading as authenticity. But I think in the end, this is ultimately similar to debates about DLC and microtransactions. I don't buy these things myself. I don't see the value in them. But there are people who do buy them. There are people who do see the value in them. And it's a very profitable part of the business. So I don't see their channels as causes. I don't feel like, I need to support every project that these people have. And, if their channels were to disappear, as cruel as it sounds, it would not really have a significant impact on my life. But, again, certain percentage of their viewership feels otherwise, and these people will pay for this fake sense of online friendship. So I really have no qualms about the influencers catering to these people. I think if one is really put off by what YouTube has become and the behaviors that it generates and cultivates and perhaps coerces within certain channels, I think the real protest is to just not use the platform for either creating videos or viewing content. Until that happens, it makes little sense to use one aspect of the YouTube business model, i.e. the monetized video, to criticize people for using other aspects of it. But again, I do think that the anti-e-beggars, I do respect them for forming a critical undercurrent within YouTube culture, and I would just encourage them to shift their attention to other issues. As we all know, there is certainly a lot to talk about.